The main target is this northwest southeast trend. We've been mapping and sampling the Puketi pits, which are exposed by small-scale miners.
We're sharing the system together with Founders and Miata. As we all know, Founders had a lot of success. We're just getting started.
And actually, the small-scale miners are not scratching just the surface, Stain. In the Puketi pit, there's between 4 and 6 shafts, and these guys are going underground and mining this vein, this high-grade vein. The highlights were 108 gram per ton and 84 gram per ton of these highly mineralized quartz veins, which are part of what we imagine is a big fault system.
When you're drilling, you have to understand the system, and that's why we want to have the best team.
Yeah, I was with Founders at the very start, so I started the first year with them.
This faulted zone can be in the order of kilometers,
with the idea to start poking holes somewhere in June.
And to me, that's really exciting. I see really great things for Sranan Gold going forward with this.
So yeah, ready to go, ready to get going.
All right, today we're having a chat with the Sranan Gold team from Suriname. Thanks for everyone joining. Oscar, first a word to you. Perhaps you can give us an update on where Sranan Gold is currently standing.
Yeah, of course. Morning, Stein, or afternoon, actually. Yeah, things are going well. We've been quite busy over the last couple of months, flying back and forth to camp. We've got the team up and running in Suriname at the moment, or as we speak. The driller arrived yesterday, Kelly Johnston, who is going to, together with Dennis and Rayiez, run the drill program. Drill should be arriving shortly in the next couple of days, which hopefully they'll clear customs reasonably soon, and then we'll be shipping them to site with the idea to start poking holes somewhere in June. So yeah, really been busy. We'll let Rayiez and Dennis talk about all the stuff that has happened on site. But I just came back from Toronto, did a bit of marketing, did a marketing round in London too. Pretty decent response and reception. So yeah, ready to go, ready to get going.
Great overview there, Oscar. Thank you for taking us along. And Rayiez, switching to the geology, of course, we have already done a deep dive just a month ago on your project.
Yep.
But perhaps you can take us along. You have an exciting land package. What are we looking at, and what really are the targets you're exploring?
The main target is this northwest southeast trend, Stain, which is, as we know from before, it's mainly in the Puketi pits and the Randy pits, crossing the Tapanahoni River. The important takeaway about the geology is that we are looking at a greenstone belt package that is deformed and pressed upon against a granitoid batholith that lies a bit to the west. We've been mapping, and we have teams active in the field right now. So we've been mapping and sampling the Puketi pits, which are exposed by small-scale miners, which is basically a big fault zone with really highly mineralized smoky quartz veins. And we've been trying to unravel the geology there, take a few grab samples, and continuing our work leading up to the drilling. Not unlike elsewhere in the Guyana Shield. What we're seeing here is very similar. You have a set of volcanic and volcanoclastic rocks that are foliated and strongly sheared, and always really close to these granitic contacts. And the geology is there in the sense that it is because of these intrusive bodies that we create these high damage zones that are proximal to those contacts, and it's always within the greenstones, as we know. So that's basically the setting in most of the targets. So the Puketi pit, the new pit, the Randy's pit, even when you extend south of Randy's pit, we see similar setting of these highly deformed and sheared and faulted greenstones against these granitic intrusions.
Yeah, great to have the geological backdrop there. And of course, what you already started highlighting is that you have local miners currently on your project who are mining the topsoil, really, and are finding quite substantial gold there. And you've done some grab samples recently. You released that news report just a couple of weeks ago where you found some grab samples with quite good grades.
We had, the highlights were 108 gram per ton and 84 gram per ton of these highly mineralized quartz veins, which are part of what we imagine is a big fault system, and with a lot of reactivation and mineralization input. And actually, the small-scale miners are not scratching just the surface, Stain. There's in the Puketi pit, there's almost between 4 and 6 shafts that are sinking down to a depth of between 20 and 80 meters. And these guys are going underground and mining this vein, this high-grade vein.
Yeah, great, gentlemen. And Oscar, of course, this is a play on that potential that's already being found by the locals, but also there's a neurology play with Miata metals and founders metals in the area.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole system, we're sharing the system together with founders and Miata. As we all know, founders had a lot of success and I think they're up to 60,000 meters of drilling now and are continuing. So we're just getting started. Miata has been drilling for, I don't know, Dennis, a month or two now,
Couple months.
I think.
Right.
So there should be a decent amount of news flow coming out of that southern bit of Suriname quite soon from us and our neighbors too. Yeah.
Phuket, together with much of the other projects, is on the southeastern side of the Marawana Greenstone Belt, and basically we're seeing a lot of these rocks that are folded up and refolded. We see similar refolding in Phuket, like at Antino, where you see the volcanic and the volcaniclastic packages refolded and shared. And the important thing is sometimes, like at Phuket, there's a lot of late events that are actually refolding and deforming the already shared corridor. And this is quite similar to what we've also seen at Upper Antino, where you have this brittle event that's causing mineralization to seep up or to strengthen, and also the association with pyrrhotite. We've seen a similar amount of really late pyrrhotite in Antino that's causing high-grade mineralization, and the same pyrrhotite-rich RAP samples are the ones that have graded 108 grams and 84 grams per ton in these, reactivated, brittly broken up fault-filled veins. Yeah, the point being made is the sharing and also the continued deformation that's causing these brittle deformation of the fault zone and these the new input of sulfides, the pyrrhotite especially. It's similar. I think Merian, Phuket, and Upper Antino are the three places that I know of on the top of my head that has pyrrhotite associated to strong gold mineralization.
Yeah, and switching gears from geology for a bit, perhaps we can switch to the team. Kelly and Dennis, welcome as well. Thanks for swinging by. Kelly, perhaps we can start with you. Local experience, you're going to be part of the drilling team who's actually going to be drilling these targets. Perhaps you can introduce yourself and really what your role is with the company.
Yeah, my name is Kelly Johnston. I live in BC, Canada. With Sranan Gold, I'm with Metals Group in Canada, who optioned with Sranan Gold. So as part of the deal, I come down, we bought 2 drills. I get the drills, put them together in Canada, put them in a sea can, ship them down, and then come down and hire locals and start a team for the mining company itself. And so what that does is it cuts the cost, it makes things a lot cheaper than getting the drilling company. It takes the cost down to half or about a half difference, more or less.
And you have a bit of experience already in Suriname country, is that correct, Kelly?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, I was with Founders at the very start. So I started the first year with them. We're the first, from June to December, we drilled 10,500 meters with one drill, which was impressive. It was it's one of the fastest down here for sure. And it was the team that did it. It was being able to train the guys to do it properly and show them how to drill faster, more efficient, with the same recovery, better recovery than other people lots. And so, yeah, it was a fun task. And the crew we have coming back with us this time, all the guys. So it'll be fun to get back with the guys. They're all excited to get going and get at this again and see what we can do.
So you're really part of that original discovery.
Yeah, more or less the same guys. The first drill will be for sure all from the first set of guys that came down here and trained. And as we get going, if we add rigs and stuff, as we add more drills, we'll bring more of the guys on as we go, yeah.
What are some of the lessons learned that you can take along from that project, similar geology to this one?
Yeah, like it's when I came down the first time with Founders, it didn't take me long to figure it out. The saprolite reacts the same as the glacier till in Alberta. It drills the same mud style, erodes the same way, and so it's the same mud mixture. So that helped me out lots when I figured that out right away. And so a lot of guys use bentonite here, and you do need to use bentonite when it gets deeper because the weight will slough in. But anywhere from 80 meters less, you can run a double mud system, which is quicker. And it holds the wall enough so you can get through no problem. And so that sped up the overburden significantly for us compared to anyone else. And then the rock drilling is rock drilling. The style of rock here, it's a medium grade hardness of rock, so not easy to drill, but it's teachable for these guys, and once they learn it, their shifts come 80, 90 meters, no problem. The first week will be just like getting back into the flow with the guys and stuff. I haven't been here for a year with them, so the things have dropped a bit, but we'll get it back to normal. I say by the end of the first month, things will be full swing by then. You'll see that the shifts will be much the same. We'll be at an average around 90 to 100 meters a day, which is what you want. You know, anywhere close to 100 meters is good drilling, and that gets you to the point of 3,000 to 4,000 meters a month per drill.
Interesting, definitely. And Dennis, of course, also part of the local experience. Perhaps you can introduce yourself and really what you're bringing to the table with this project.
Well, thanks. It's I've been here working in Suriname for 25 years. I was requested to come in 2000 and started the project for Sralco, actually, or Alcoa. They wanted me to find them a gold mine. Alcoa is an aluminum company, but they wanted to find a gold mine. And I did that in 3 years with basically no information, pure grassroots discovery, no previous work, training and using local geologists. I discovered what's now the Marion mine, and then actually I introduced Newmont to Alcoa, and they took the ball and ran with it, and now that's the Marion mine. So I work with the local team, and we move very quickly, and I don't know if people can understand the challenges back then. We had no quality maps. We didn't have good GPS. I had to train the local team, and we had I started off 140,000 hectares to evaluate, and that culminated. We used soil sampling, rock chip sampling, and following we call the pork knockers, and the pork knockers, a Brazilian pork knocker found a vein, and he started producing high-grade gold, and the local community started a gold rush, just like we have at Piketty back in 2000. And I'll go into that in a minute. But anyway, and so that became what we call go to Bergie. We went in there and sampled, and then I started the drilling program, and that led to the Marion discovery. So then after that, I went over to Roosevelt. At that time it was Cambior, and I ran the regional exploration, which led to an agreement with the concession holder that had this Tapahoney project. And so that was in the mid 2000s. So I've had a relationship with that concession holder, and then the concession holder that now has it is a friend of mine, and so we were able to, starting in that last gold rush in 2020-21, we've worked together to prepare technical reports and to try to find investors. So that's when I hooked up with Oscar to bring it into what's now Sranan Gold. So I've been active in the Tapahoney area since that time. Actually, I was active in doing the initial work. It's a great target. It's if you see the photos back in that gold rush, it looks just like any other major gold rush. And there was hundreds of miners. They were using crushers, crush up the quartz veins, and producing high-grade gold. There's a lot of gold produced there. So it's a great target. The other thing that's evolving since I've been here is the understanding of these gold systems. And with the discoveries at Oko West and the work that's been done at Founders, I've known the concession holders at Founders for over 20 years and work closely with them. But the understanding of the structural controls is just added so much insight into how to test and explore these deposits. And so, for instance, Roosevelt and Marion are more in sedimentary rocks, so they're metamorphosed, and that you don't have the intrusive package. Whereas what we're seeing now at Founders, Oko West, and at Tapahoney is this relationship with these intrusive bodies, which wasn't really well known back when I first started here. We're looking at deeply weathered rocks. It's a real challenge to how do you explore for these things, how do you test them, and I think we're getting the tools. We have great geologists. One of the things that we're using is I depend on working with local geologists like Rayiez. They understand the systems, and they know how to work with the local communities. And so that's a real strength for Sranan Gold. And so that's what we're doing. We have local communities because they're doing the small-scale mining, and so we have to have good relationships with them.
Yeah, definitely a vast background you have in country, Dennis, and that local experience seems to be key to be operating in Suriname because the geology can be so complex, even though it is so gold-bearing. Quickly touch your base also, you've been doing some work with the local university, I believe. Perhaps you can take us along shortly how that translates to getting qualified and experienced people also working for Sranan Gold.
Well, I love working with the local students. I both encourage them to do their projects, encourage them to go on for advanced degrees, although some students ignore my advice, of course. But the Suriname students are great to work with. They're very they're just as good as anybody else in the world, and so whenever they offer the master's program at the university, besides supporting undergraduate thesis projects, then I teach a course at the university. The last one, I taught a course on basically ore deposits of the Guyana Shield, and also I led a field course to Aruba, which is a fantastic place for field work because there's no vegetation, everything's exposed, unlike Suriname, and then actually I encouraged the department, the former leader Theo Wong, who is a friend of mine, to include a summer field camp at South Dakota School of Mines, and I think that's been a very enriching experience. Anyway, so as part of that, I also advise students for their master's thesis, one of which is Rayiez, and so basically I get to know and can work with the best students from Suriname, and so we see that with Rayiez. So Rayiez and I have worked on multiple projects, starting with the OMI project over in Guyana, and then 2 other projects here in Suriname, and now SRAN Gold. We're recruiting other ones as we speak.
That's great. Thanks for taking us along, Dennis. Really appreciate that. And then switching back to geology with Rayiez, please. You recently shot some very interesting footage locally at site. I believe this is one of the pits where you've been finding amazing grab samples. Perhaps you can take us along really what we're targeting here and how you're going to be doing so.
So basically, Stan, we're looking down on the structure here. We're looking down, we're looking northwest. And all these little white shacks that you see, they are basically, the roofs of all these shafts that are being sunken into the structure. And this what I used to call this high damage corridor from our last mapping, I've seen that we're basically looking at a highly faulted zone within the basaltic package. There might be some volcaniclastic rocks in there. It's a very complicated deformed system, and it's hosting multiple veins that have been transposed meaning rotated and made part of the rock mass. And it's a big fault system, a complex fault system, and with something we see a lot of, something we call in geology a lot of recrystallization within the fault fill vein, and that's the high grades. And and at surface from the gold rush in 2020 and 2021, most of what was exposed has been mined by the small scale miners. So what they're doing now is sinking these shafts going in, which are probably more profitable, and they're mining this high grade vein underground. Up to depths of allegedly 80 meters. The one I've seen myself is about 22 meters deep, and it's impressive work that they're doing. And the way this system is exposed just here in Phuket, and the geological indications that we have going southeast towards Randy's Pit, and even some other targets that we're looking at going northwest. This mineralized system, this high damage zone, this faulted zone, can be in the order of kilometers. And to me, that's really exciting because it lines up, almost 5 or 6 targets for us to follow. And I see really great things for Sranan Gold going forward with this.
Yeah, that is very exciting, Eddie. Potential to run multiple kilometers, and you already started hinting at some of the grades the local miners are finding. Also, I believe at the Randy's target, you've already, at least there has been some drill results there in the past that were nothing to sneeze at in the 10 meters at 5 gram type of range, right?
Yes, there were 10 meters of 4.8. There was even 39 grams per ton, Oscar.
Yeah, over about 2 meters.
A little bit of the different, and then again it comes back to what Dr. LaPoint is saying about understanding the weathering profile. At Randy's Pit, we're in a higher elevation level, so your saprolite is way thicker, and rocks like in Phuket are not exposed because we're farther up and not in the erosional terrace of the Tapanahoni River. So small scale miners have mined a considerable pit there that's almost 30-40 meters deep. I think you can see an image in our PowerPoint with an excavator as a scale. And basically the mineralized shear corridor has been mined by them. Right now it's collapsing, so we can't access it. And it is exactly the same orientation at northwest. Maybe in Randy's a bit more northwest shear zone that's being mined by these artisanal miners, and similar rock types like we see in Phuket, highly sheared basaltic units. Especially, we also know that from the descriptions of the historical holes. We will try and go after this target too in the first phases.
I was going to say, when I was there in 2021, the Randy pit was already active. And so we landed there and took some samples, and so that's a very long-lived pit for miners by the locals. And the reason they had to stop was you can see that they don't have very good safety concerns or control on the pit walls, and so it became too unstable for them to continue. Otherwise, they could have kept on going because the saprolite here is very deep. Which is actually very good for us because that makes better operating costs when you start production.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine. And in the grassroots exploration world, this is almost a bit like cheating, where you already know there's gold to be found in your project. The question is just how much and where, and if you're able to actually find it. Switching gears to you, Oscar, perhaps you can take us along some of the timelines on how this drilling campaign will look like. How many meters? What are the big catalysts to look out for?
So the initial program that we were planning at the beginning of this year was going to be up to, from 1,500 to about 3,000 meters on the existing trend. That took a bit of a turn on the back of the LiDAR that came back in March. So we've increased our meterage to about 10,000. With Kelly and his team, we should be able to provide very decent news flow over the next 4 or 5 months. Especially also with the turnaround times of the lab in Suriname, which, as we have seen yet again last week, is about 7 to maybe 14 days or 10 days. So over the summer, we should be able to produce a reasonable amount or a good amount of news.
Perhaps something we should also touch base on with Rayiez. Of course, we've now thus far been talking about one of your trends that has been found thus far. And of course, this is blue sky potential. We first have to test whether the gold is actually there at depth and at what grades and how much. But we might be talking about a way larger system.
Yes, so as you know, as I pointed out before, Stein, we are within the greenstone package and very proximal, very close to the contact with granitic batholiths. And what we're seeing is that from structural data that we have from Aeromag, we kind of complemented it with the recently acquired LiDAR, and we're seeing basically these late structures, and basically the Puketi Randy trend are lying on these late structures that are mineralized, and at the same time we've identified two additional parallel zones to that, and we suspect they are parallel, similar in origin because of their late nature, and they're cross-cutting other structures that have been in place earlier in the geological history, which is exciting because then you have multiple zones of these lined up next to each other, which is not uncommon, which has been drilled and proven in places like the Saramaccan deposit, which has been drilled and proven in places like in Upper Antino. So we're excited for that, and we're seeing multiple possibilities parallel to each other.
Perhaps we gentlemen can talk operationally as well about really how the next couple of weeks will look like for you. We know that you're shipping in your equipment. Perhaps you can take us along how that's going.
Yeah, well, we're moving ahead. We're working closely with the local village of Puketi, and I have multiple things in operation or in planning stages. As you know, if you're on the Tapuani River, then transportation is often by river. We can use the local communities to provide, they basically dug out canoes to bring in supplies. They can bring in fuel. There's also a local small-scale miner that has pontoons. And so this is suitable for bringing in generators, the drilling equipment, excavator, things like that. So that's one thing. We're building the camp, and to speed the process, we're building what I call an advanced fly camp that can be expanded. So we're minimizing the amount of wood we use. We use plastic tarps for the roof, and it's more of an open air system. We're building a kitchen, dining room. We're bringing in 2 containers for the geology because they're air conditioned, so we have to protect our computers and stuff. Kelly will get one for his crew for the night shift because it's important for them to get your rest. We constantly have discussions with the local community for our cooperation and to show that we're giving back to the community. And so that actually takes a lot of time. We're utilizing the members of the local communities, and the structure is the overall head is called the Grandmon, and then he has captains. They call them captains, and then they have below that bashas, and we're working with those captains. We actually have them helping build the camp, and so we're trying to maintain good communication. And it's actually very important to use our local people for these discussions. That they can speak freely with each other much better than I can, and there's more trust than there is with dealing with somebody from overseas. So all these things are going on. We're working closely with the concession holder, who's a great guy. He's been a friend of mine for a long time, and he's been so cooperative and trying to do the best we can. I've been here for a long time. Over 10 years ago, a company called Sranan Gold had an agreement with the Nana Resources, and they did a lot of drilling, 10,000 meters or more, and they walked away. Okay, and so when you're drilling, you have to understand the system, and that's why we want to have the best team and the best understanding to do that. And so that's what we're doing right now. is trying to prepare to get positive results that can lead to a discovery.
Definitely a very exciting time, gentlemen, to be really starting these drill rigs up, starting the camp up, and then really testing what you have there in the ground. Thanks for also swinging by today. It was great to get a behind-the-scenes look on really how things are going over at your project in Suriname. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
And you. Thank you, Stijn.